right, let's take a look and see where we're at. News-wise, I know that there's news at 10. Let me look here at the calendar real quick. My news app is kind of working, kind of not. All right, core PCE at 10. And then that's really about it. So we had GDP this morning, which I haven't even really looked at the price action, but I can see that we are trading above this value area. We're trading above the previous month's VWAP, and we are inside of this prior value area here. If we can break out of this, then we'll go all the way back up, I would imagine, up into here. If not, we'll likely fail and retest somewhere back down in here. Let me put a quick shot on an X. And yeah, so that's kind of where we're at. All right. That's done. Okay, now I can focus. Now I can focus. What's up, Big Jake? How are you doing today, man? So let's see. Let's look at the. So we are trading above the overnight POC previous month's VWAP. I'm just going to put a little blue line right here so we know that that's the previous month's VWAP, and then a purple line right here so we know that that is the POC, and this should show up on the other chart. Good, man. I'm glad it's working. Yep, so there's the news app. And then let's look at the tactical chart. And then today I'm also going to have the tick up. Let me erase these areas from the TPO. Hey, what's up, Basil? Appreciate you being here again, man. All right, let's get started. So negative order flow out of the gate. Tick is positive. Start building out my volume profile here. Looks like we got a little bit of a gap. If this breaks right here, I'll probably start shorting. And that's on 1,000 trades. But let me look at this. There we go. What's up, Ben? Glad you're here, man. So this morning I've just got the tick on the left and then my standard kind of small price action chart. Just waiting to see if we get a break lower on the order flow. For us to take the short. Yeah, I think so. All right, we're going to short it. Didn't quite break lower, but let's, I feel like it will here. Just give it a little bit of space. Tick's rallying though. Okay, so we are short. And that's really, again, just kind of based on this momentum down, right? Out of the gate, order flows negative. And then we get this break right here. So we're just trusting that these guys are going to continue to push it that direction. Not real heavy. It is a full-size contract. Looking for this to drop down to, I don't know, negative 1,000 or 2,000 before we exit. Sometimes this battle can take a little bit to flesh out here. But we do have order flow alignment, right? We've got order flips. That drew that on the other chart. We do have order flow alignment, right? Things are kind of going the same direction, so we're just going to trust that it's going to keep going. That's all that we can do. If it flips positive, right? If it flips positive up here, then we'll change course. But for now, things are going down. So we're just following the flow. Yeah, I got to work on my streaming stuff because, like, I have no idea how many people are in chat. I have no idea how many people are actually watching. OBS says one thing, YouTube Live's telling me something different. So we want to watch this tick. It's positive, but we want to watch this thing come down here to the 0 line. Sometimes the ticks are kind of hard to read out of the gate, but still a lot of downward momentum in the order book. There we go. That's kind of the break we were looking for. I could have added right there. That also could have been kind of like your initial entry if you didn't have one yet. I'm going to wait and see what happens here at this 1,000 level. Okay, looks like it's pushing through it. We're up 700. I'm watching to see what happens between price and delta here. See if we get another little push down. Still in the trade. Right, we still have good alignment between order flow and price. So there's no divergence, right? No reason for me to really get out yet. I am going to have to probably cut this trade a little bit short and use the bathroom. Yeah, that worked out pretty good. Coffee's hitting me. I took my daughter to breakfast this morning and drank a bunch of coffee at the restaurant. That's a whole nother side subject, but let's just see what happens. Little divergence here between price and delta. Right, price is rallying a little bit. We want to see this order flow continue lower. There we go. Come on. All right. I'm gonna have to cut this and use the bathroom. I apologize so much. I'll keep the chart up, and then maybe we'll catch a bounce. So first trade, that was $621. So I'll take that. Again, this is the funded account, so we are trying to get it to 11,100. That will give us the max payout. All right, I will be right back, guys. Appreciate your patience. All right, guys, I'm back. Too funny. Okay, I'm gonna change this to 512 trades, and we're just gonna kind of take a step back and see if we can catch. Oh man, beautiful. Looks like it came back up and retested that little node, and TPO chart, again, we are now trading below. We're trading below the overnight value area, which is this. Let me zoom in just a little bit so you guys can see it. All right, so we were up here inside of this kind of range, right? What's up, Charles? Hope you're doing good this morning. Just taking one trade, took a short out of the open, but I had to close it because I had to go use the bathroom. Life things, right? Life things. Let me turn this music down just a little bit. Again, I can never tell how loud it is on your guys' end, so if it's too loud, I'm sorry. So we were trading in this area of balance. I think of this like, again, as just as a value, as there being a density that's there. This is really like stored energy, right? Right here. And like if we look at this, let's look at it like this. So we've got stored energy here, and then we have, when you say level 2, you're talking about like, you know, like kind of a traditional level 2 that I would use for like trading penny stocks, like a dome kind of thing, or what? Hey, what's up, Henry? So my chart books are not available currently. I don't have, like, I have a website that a friend of mine has done an excellent job for me on it. But it's not public, and I'm honestly not 100% sure exactly what I want to do with it. Anyway, so I guess more to come on that. I mean, just a few days ago. No, I don't look at it. I only look at flow conditions. I only look at order flow. And I mean, I don't only look at order flow because I'm sitting here talking to you about, you know, about volume and time and energy. But in a nutshell, the market, you know, builds energy and then it distributes energy. And that energy is the form of orders. That's why order flow is so important, guys, because there was energy that was built up right here, right, in the overnight session. That energy was released, right, and the market went up, so that energy was distributed out, it was released, and then it like coils again, it builds up in this area, and now it's being released back down, which is what you're seeing happen right in front of our eyes, right? So it goes from dense areas where there's energy that's been stored in the form of volume and delta, and then it drives one direction, and it basically is going from value to value, right? So right now we're retesting this value area. So if you want to try to get long, right, then you're going to want to wait until it gets down into this value area here. It's going to travel through these spaces, these kind of vacuums, relatively quickly, usually. All right, let me look at these questions. I'm primarily watching order flow from the standpoint of volume delta, trades delta. I might take a scalp here. Kind of waiting with this. Yeah, I'm gonna take one long right here, real quick. Nasdaq's or the tick's still pushing down, but I'm gonna scalp a quick long off this. So basically, it's order flow wise, I'm looking at trades delta, volume delta, looking at tick a lot. Those are kind of the main ones that I look at. I don't use footprints or anything like that. I've been through all that stuff, and the best edge that I have found is just paying attention to when the flow is changing, right? When the flow conditions are changing and the market is starting to change its characteristics. The order flow itself is starting to change its characteristics. So that's what I look for. Nee asks, what made me take a long right there? It's a combination of statistics, right? I've pulled a lot of data on the market, and I know where its turning points are at in the order book. I don't know exactly, right? I'm going to add into that estimated guess. It's not an estimated guess. I know that statistically speaking, when our order flow gets down to, you know, like negative 2K, negative 3K, it's more likely to probably bounce. And so it's just a quick scalp trade. You guys can literally see the divergence happening right here. It may or may not hold. But this is absorption that's taking place, guys, right here. So it's just trying to catch a swing, right? Like we came from down here. It's trying to catch this swing. 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 That's all that it is, right? Just scalping. Not trying to really build into some kind of, you know, keystone position. So we'll just see if we get a little bounce out of this, and I'll scale out, take some profits. Take one off right there. I can't really summarize exactly how I read the deltas in one or two sentences. Just a lot of time watching them, spending time with them, right? I'll close that. I'll take that. I'm just gonna close it. We are at 1200 on the day. So now that I'm out of the trade, again, it's difficult to try to trade live and also teach. So now that I'm out of that trade, I'm kind of at liberty to mentally answer your question here, Henry. So in a nutshell, I look for alignment between order flow and price. So let me turn on these guys. Okay. The blue line is trades delta, the teal line is volume delta. Usually I have them looking something like this. Where's it at? Where's it at? I'm sorry, I'm looking for a study on my end. Just 1 second. Where's it at? There it is. turn this on for you guys. What's up, Z? No, I generally don't use hard stops. I mean, I know what my daily risk is, my daily risk allocation, and I don't use a hard stop. I'll put a hard stop in if I've got to get up and go do something with my kids, but otherwise, I mean, I'm dynamically managing the trade. Like, the bottom line is that I either have conviction that it's going to turn right here, or I don't, right? Or I don't. And I don't size myself up so much that, you know, the other thing is that, again, I base everything on statistics. So I know, like, like 85, 90% that if we don't catch a bounce, no, they don't. Nope. You don't have to have a stop loss. You just have to be able to, okay, so when I did my verification in 2024 with Apex, you know, you got to do the little video verification before you get a payout. You know, I had to demonstrate 3 days worth of trading to them, and I had to record, you know, 3 different sessions and talk them through my entries, my criteria, and how I handle my stops and how I manage my risk. Like, you have to give them, you know, you've got to give them a justification for why you're doing what you're doing. And as long as you are managing your trades, right, and you're managing your risk, you don't have to have a stop loss. You don't have to have a hard stop. Okay. So they know that I manage my risk dynamically. And there's sometimes that I DCA. There's sometimes that I will add into winners, etc. But yeah, they don't have a problem with it. So back to your question, right? Yeah, of course. I use hotkeys. Like, since I've got away from using hard stops on my stuff, like, trading feels so much more enjoyable, right? Because your thesis, like, you know, my thesis to take this trade at negative 2,000 was correct in that, again, it's just a scalp. If I enter a trade, I'm not saying that this thing is going to go all the way back up, right? I don't try to prophesize. I've talked a lot about this on X lately. I do not try to prophesize my trading. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, the market did this, we swept this low, and now we're going to return and do this, right? I'm also not going to stand on a limit order and say, well, you know, I had a horizontal line on my chart, and this line right here, right? This line right here, based on some arbitrary price level or swing, was going to be my, you know, this is where my limit order was at. This green line is my limit order to enter this trade. And if it doesn't touch that, then I'm out of the trade, or I miss the trade. I do not trade like that at all. At all. I am a very active trader. If I see something, I take it. I take it, and I take it with an appropriate amount of size that my accounts can sustain, and I build on it, right? I try to build on it. But I'm not. People get into trouble when they say things like, "Well, we swept this low, therefore we must do this." Like, no. You're gonna do whatever the order flow tells you to do. That's what's gonna happen. So, when you learn to read the order flow, you don't have to stress out about your entries, right? Anyway, a little bit of a rant there, but so got news here in a minute, so we're just gonna kind of hang tight until the news news comes and goes. If you guys again like the video, like the content, the stream, appreciate a like. I guess that's, you know, like buying me a coffee. even though my channel's not monetized or anything like that. So let's take a look at the TPO real quick. All right, so we are down here in the overnight. I really just look at the TPO chart and I look at these long-term VWAPs a lot. So higher time frame analysis, right? We went up on Trump and we've got a previous month's VWAP that failed to hold. And now we're pulling back down to last quarter's VWAP. Isn't that nice knowing that that is underneath you somewhere to catch, right? And so this right here is a nice juicy target for me, this previous quarter's VWAP. So usually I'll just take this thing and I've got it all kind of black and white right now because I had it in colors and it was. And then this down here is the previous day's VWAP. So this is where yesterday's VWAP closed at. I usually mark these in purple. So higher time frame wise, right? Okay, there's our news. I know that I've got, again, I'm going to kind of let this news come and go. So I've got a POC up there. This right here is, this is an RTH POC, so this one definitely carries a little more weight to it. Right? I got two RTH POCs and I'm stuck in between them. So it's either going to bounce in this area and go higher, or we're just going to continue to pass through this and come down into these areas. All right. So let's go back to the tactical chart here. And let's see what we get. And we'll watch the tick here. Want to make sure that these chart drawings are showing up over here. And then also, what is this one? Number 1. Okay. Just clean this up a little bit for you guys. Okay. So let's take a look at the tactical now. See where things line up. Ooh, now look. Now we're adding a little bit of context to this, right? We want the tick to be on here. Okay, so now we're getting some context, right? We've got previous quarter's VWAP and a POC right here. Areas that it might, we might catch a bounce. Get our profile back on there. Okay, also, look at what's happening. Put these down here. Right, our order flow is drifting lower. Who are some of the most influential people that you learn from? That's kind of a long list. I assume that you mean traders, so I'm not going to go into you know, my Ranger instructor from 1999, or my small unit tactics instructor who, you know, humiliated me years ago. Influential people, trading wise, um, I think anybody. Okay, so look, guys, if you are, and and I've been down this road, so I'm talking to myself. Please do not get offended by anything that I'm about to say. But if you're just looking at candles, okay, you're a candlestick. If you can wrap your head around this, right, it'll help you. A candlestick is a shadow of the order flow, all right? And the industry wants to market order flow to you, right? When I say the industry, I'm talking about the already offended. Well, I am an army guy, so I know how to offend people pretty well. But the industry, so I assume that you guys know the difference between a clearinghouse and an IB, or an introductory broker. So all of these companies, NinjaTrader, TradingView, well, TradingView is really a software company, but NinjaTrader, AMP, Stage 5, what's the one? Project X, I can't remember what their brokerage name is. Optimus, okay. These are all introductory brokers. They introduce you as a client to a clearinghouse. There's only a handful of clearinghouses, and most of them go through either Dorman or through, oh, EdgeClear was one of the, yeah, EdgeClear is an IB. Dorman, who's the other one I'm thinking of? Anyway, they are all selling you order flow, right? They want you to buy the order flow software. They want you to buy the order flow suites. They want you to buy the MBO data, right? Or the level 3 data, right? They want you to buy it. Okay, they're selling you order flow. They're telling you that you need to have order flow to understand the market. I'm saying the same thing, except that I'm telling you from like the bottom of my heart, like one regular human being to a bunch of other regular human beings who are just trying to earn a living and provide for their families. You have to understand order flow. You have to understand the difference between a bid, or I'm sorry, between the bid and the ask. You have to understand what a market order is. You have to understand what a limit order is. You have to understand what deltas are, okay? And sure, you can look at it. You also have to understand what market internals are. There's a bunch of different market internals that are out there. I like to look at the Nasdaq tick, because this gives me kind of the overall market perspective, right? And what you guys are seeing on your screen right now is a very, very simplified version of the way that I like to trade. Again, I've got a widescreen monitor, but I can't show you, like, I can show you the widescreen, how I have it set up, but for you guys to be able to see it and understand it, for me to talk to you about it, we've got to kind of look at it like this, right? So, but back to what I started with, a candlestick is a shadow of the order flow. The chain is order flow. Order flow comes in, right, through your streaming software, through your trading software. The actual orders themselves, the raw order feed comes in. Your software interprets it, right? And it begins displaying volume, right? So the volume that comes in determines price, right? Price is this projection of the orders onto your chart. And that's all that it is, right? But the thing is that because there's really two different order types that we're working with, market orders and limit orders, and there's icebergs and things like that. An iceberg is just a fancy limit order, right, for a bigger player, because they've got so much volume that they're trying to put into the market. So all of these forces kind of come together, and the output of that is the candlestick. And when you're only looking at the candlestick, again, you're just looking at that shadow, right? You're not getting the full picture of what the underlying market is doing, right? Don't you want to, if you're trading NQ futures, don't you want to know what the broader Nasdaq is doing? Don't you want to know what those 3,500 stocks are doing? It's very important, right? And so I have taken order flow and I've simplified it in a way that is easy for me to understand. Okay, I'm a very visual person. You guys know that I'm also, again, like I'm a disabled vet. I've got 4 kids. Like I work from home. What I am really good at is detecting subtle shifts in the flow conditions of the market, right? I've tried, again, I've spent 2 years looking at footprint charts and everything else. And when you're staring at a footprint chart, you don't get, it's almost like it's too granular, right? People trade footprint charts. Why? Because they want the best entries. All right. I don't care about the entry. I mean, I care about the entry, but I don't care about the entry. What I care about is the change in the flow of the market, because like here we are up to this point, right? The flow of the market has been what since the open? It's been down. What has price done? Price has also gone down. So when this starts to change, that's where I want to get involved. And really only when it starts to change. So like right now, it looks like the order flow is lifting a little bit. That would be expected because a bank or a hedge fund, right? They're kind of, their systems, their algorithms that reset at RTH open, they're kind of recalibrated. And like they know that there's a quarterly VWAP right here, right? And they also probably know that there's a POC here, although I don't think that algorithms are looking at TPO charts, right? So for me, it's not so much about the entry. Like I'm not going to sit here and say I've got to enter right here at this perfect time. And I think that when you're staring at a footprint chart, that's really what you're trying to do. But when you're staring at the footprint chart, you're looking at this, right? You're looking at this on the footprint, basically the equivalent of it, right? And so what are you missing when this is what you're looking at? You're missing all of the context, right? You're seeing changes in flow, but it's happening like right here. And you just don't have the ability, I think, to really look at the bigger picture and see, hey, yeah, and I understand, like obviously you use footprint charts in conjunction with other things, but I've just developed a way that's very simple for me to follow, and that's how I do it, right? My trading went from rudimentary, right, when I first started, very rudimentary, price action based, to more advanced, right? I had all the fancy things, looking at all the unfinished auctions and all the imbalances and all of those things, right? POCs of each, leg and price, all of that stuff. And I've just realized that I don't need it, right? I don't need it. I just need to wait and see when the flow changes and start to build a position based on that. Okay. We've had the news, had a little bit of a push down. I'm not really seeing anything that's making me want to jump in huge yet. kind of feel the same way. I only have so much screen space too. Like even with I think this is like a 49-inch wide monitor. I only have so much screen space. I want to be able to kind of sit back in my chair, right, and take it all in. And also too, like trading with micros, I think is something that's very helpful. You know, like this. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to switch this chart over, and I'm just going to show you guys what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm setting this to use as only as a symbol. Okay, or I'm sorry. So you'll see up here it says NQ, so it's an NQ chart, but I'm trading micros. Now watch what happens. I'm going to buy 1 micro. Let me just double check this. Okay, I bought 1 micro. I'm not buying for any other reason to just, it's going to show you that I'm got $100 in profit, but that's not actually accurate. Let me put this up for you guys so you can see the real-time P&L here on this. I just want to give you guys an example. Just a second, let me add this window capture, trade positions. Okay. I assume that you guys can see that trade position now on the chart or on the screen. So literally just bought 1 micro. Why would I buy 1 micro right here? No reason in particular other than I can see that we're basically close to minus 3K on the delta. And I know that that's relatively strong selling for a day. So we might be a little bit long in the tooth on this way down here, but I'm not saying that it's going to absolutely reverse right here. What I'm trying to demonstrate to you is just, I'm not worried about, you have to trade small enough that you don't worry about the position. And so if the market has sold off, at some point it's going to rebound, right? At some point. And I know statistically that, again, from just lots and lots of back tests and watching it, that at some point those algorithms that anchored, right, recalibrated here at the open, that they like to take profits, they like to adjust their positions, right? And so the timing of that, I'm basing that on statistics and everything else. So I'm not stressed out about putting on a micro here on any particular entry model or anything like that, right? It just gives me a lot of flexibility in my trading, and I'm not stressed out about it, okay? If it drops down, here's the thing, is that if it drops down and we do get down into this area, it allows me to even build into a better position. Again, this is going to say negative $400. It's 40 bucks. All right, but let's just see what happens. Okay, let's just see what happens. Let's see if we can really detect. I don't know that I'll get an A+ setup today, right? But let's just see what we can detect in the order flow and not worry about the position. Let me clear some of this stuff off. So the other thing is too, is that I've talked with this about this in earlier streams, is that the problem with these kinds of like horizontal price levels on your chart is that they're price levels, and price will either occasionally on about a 50% it will respect them, and then the other 50% of the time it blows through them like they're not even there. So that's why I've learned to focus on order flow and the statistics behind order flow. Do you see the difference there? When you start off trading, you're focused on an entry model, right? That's all people think about is entering the market. When do I enter? When do I enter? When do I enter the market? And so they're basing their entries off of price, which I've already established is the shadow of the order flow, or they're basing their entries off of indicators, which is a shadow of price. So everybody kind of starts off like that, right? I don't do any of that. I base my entries off of statistics that I've developed in the order flow itself, right? So I don't care what price does. All I care about is what's happening in the order flow. And to me, the order flow is a combination of your deltas and your market internals. So, like, look at this. Like, if we look at the tick, look at what price is doing, right? So as I look at price is kind of bottoming out, right? We basically have got kind of equal lows here on price. But look at what our tick is doing. The overall Nasdaq, does it look like it's buying or does it look like it's selling? When I put a little channel like that, which direction is the Nasdaq going? This stuff down here will get you chewed up, right? Which way is the overall market going? Yeah, it went down, but at least right now it looks like it's going up, right? That's the way we're going. So there was a little bit of a divergence between price flattened out. Again, this is a 200 or 512 tick chart. But if you're looking at this on a 1 minute or a 5 minute, it's going to look completely different. So I want to try to get as granular as I can. So I have two data feeds that I use. I have, because this is an Apex account, right? So obviously I'm using their data feed. And then I also have the Sierra Chart Denali data feed. And so the Denali feed, I try to drive all the order flow stuff with the Denali feed. And then the chart that you're seeing, right, the trading chart, is just connected to Apex. So there's a lot going on my end because you've got like multiple instances of Sierra Chart. So again, it's not there's not like an entry model. It's just a detection of a shift in the order flow. Now, the thing with NQ is, because it's such a thin order book, right, it can change on a dime. And we saw that yesterday. Like, yesterday was a difficult trading day because when you have somebody who is as polarizing, right, as Trump is, the order flow can go kind of all over the place. And so, you know, you got to be careful. Days like this are a little bit easier to trade. We did have 2 red folder news events, but my favorite days are the days when there's no news. Because guess what? When there's no news, you get a lot of just nice, clean order flow reads. And what's funny to me is that there's always people that are like, don't trade unless there's a red folder news event, or don't trade on a Friday. And I don't subscribe to any of that stuff. I just care about the order flow. That's it. And you guys know that I put the volume profile up really because I do think that it adds some value. We can see right here, look. We had a very dense area up here. And then as this area was dense, right, there was a lot of energy that was stored up here from that value area on the TPO. And then it sold off. And then as we were coming down, this profile, right, as we were coming down, this profile on the right was very thin looking. But now where's the energy stored at? Where's that energy stored at? Right here. And if you're trading above that, right, if you're trading above that, if it's leaving this area of density and energy buildup accumulation, logically it's going to go higher. It doesn't always, right? But that's how I think about it. So I look at it as stored energy, released energy, stored energy, because that's really what the market does. It stores, builds up order flow energy in an area, right? Energy in the order book, and then it disperses or goes directional or extends or whatever you want to call it, right? Releases that energy. So it builds it up and then it releases, and then it builds it up and then it releases. When the order flow is negative on the day, you got to be careful with, you got to be careful with longs, because you have to understand that the wind is at your back on the sell side right now. So even now, right, shorts are going to have more momentum because the order book is down. So just remember that, is that picking this bottom, they say, right, they say, all of the trading influencers that are out there, or the, you know, washed up floor traders from, you know, 04, 05, 06, they say you know, don't catch the falling knife. Well, that's the only way I know how to do it, right? I mean, obviously I can catch a trend as well, but this is what I'm really good at, right? Is catching this falling knife. And it's because of the change in the order flow, and it's because of the shift in the market internals that allow me to do it. I need to we got 13 people watching. That's pretty cool. Appreciate you guys being here. Again, if you guys have questions, let me know. I think the most that I've had is like 15 people. And the best way for me to watch chat is just to pull it up on the YouTube website itself, because OBS, for whatever reason, there's like a delay. No, these are micros. Remember what I said? I was just trying to give you a little demonstration. Basically just saying, hey, the entry doesn't matter so much as the shift in the order flow does. So I was like, literally, you can just, you know, take a micro just about anywhere, and it just gives you a ton of flexibility. But if you were in a mini, you'd be kind of stressed out. So you can see the P&L of the trade though, right, Nee? Oh, okay, yeah, no problem. Yeah, so it's just a micro right now. I'm up 1200. I'll show you guys the account monitor here too. Let's see, how do I do that? Copy it. And then let me move it here just a second. Does that work? Can you guys see that okay? Again, I have no, like, real point of reference, but you should be able to see the account monitor. So there's the account monitor, then the trade position. So the green is the actual trade position. Just let me know if you guys can see it. You might get it. I mean, I don't think for a second that this is necessarily the bottom, right? Like I've watched price. Okay, good. So yeah, so that's the live P&L of the trade and the daily P&L. I'll work on getting it. I need to create a study that that does it for me, because the proprietary ones I'm not super happy with. But anyway, so we made 1200 on 2 trades. And the first one, man, I wish I could have. Oh, it's not going to show the trades because I'm on micros now. Hey, what's going on, Lucio? How are you this morning? Let's take a look at the TPO chart again, since some of you guys are asking me for it. You guys can see the tick, right? Tick is rallying, not super hard. It's not hitting extremes. Price is definitely, there's a lot of selling into it. But this is where we're at TPO chart wise. Remember what I said, that we were up here in an area of balance. There was energy accumulation up here, and then it distributed that energy down. And so now we're back down here in this area of prior value. And so we're just waiting to see what it does. There's a lot of downward momentum, not gonna lie. But something that you guys should be aware of, and I'm sure that some of you are, is that this little high right here, the market doesn't like to leave those. I guess it's technically still a poor high. Normally, when you look at a TPO chart, right, you have this kind of tail or extension, right, that is up during this period. But we have this kind of poor high here. And so I would imagine that this will be revisited and cleaned up at some point. On the bottom, we've got a better taper, right? So this taper down here tells me that this is a finished auction here. And same thing down here on these guys, right? This is a nice, clean, finished auction. This one's still a little bumpy. You guys can see the differences between the two of them there. But when you look at the top of this one, see how that's kind of blunted right there? So I would not be surprised at all if we test down here around this previous quarter's VWAP and rally up out of here. It may not happen today, right? So please don't think that I'm saying that it's going to happen today, but that's just how I look at it. Nee asks if I ever use price action or candlestick patterns. Okay, so I'm not looking at the candlesticks itself so much as just kind of the flow or the frequency, the wavelength of price. It's a chart type. Actually, it's a study. It's a study that's overlaid on a chart. But basically, it's just showing us the time, right? Time price overlay. It's showing us the time that was spent here. And then on the right, I've got the volume profiles, which I need to make them stick out a little more because they're not sticking out very far. That's probably a little bit too much. There you go. It's kind of just echoing what the TPO is showing us. That's probably still a little bit too wide. Let's go to 10. All right, so now it looks like, look, we've got a little bit of taper here. Okay. We start breaking above this, and we get above this little value area right here, which is our volume value area. Right. Sorry, our TPO value area. Then we'll probably go higher. All right, let's get back to this. Okay, I'm gonna close that trade right there. I'll take it. So we're at $1,314 this morning. Hey, we just reached our highest viewer count. I'm excited. 16 people watching. I exited there because when you're trading a retail prop account, guys, especially when you're trading Apex that has a trailing drawdown, you need to try to close your trades when they are at their apex, right? They are at their peak. And if you're just trying to get payouts, again, it's not about being right? I'm not going to sit here and tell you, hey, I bought a micro right here, and I'm locking my heels in saying that this is the bottom, and that I'm going to hold this thing back to the POC or back to whatever. I'm not going to do that, right? Now, if I would have scaled in right here with 5 or 10 contracts, then yeah, I might have done that. But again, when you're just trying to get a payout, right, and you're trading an account that has a balance of $10,000, right? So the balance is $10,000, and you make $1,000 or $1,300, guys, that is an incredible, incredible, incredible day. Take your wins. It is not about being right. It is about getting paid. And if you're trying to change your life and you're trying to pay your bills, then guess what? Quit trying to be right and just get yourself into a winning trade, Right? That's what I love about the micros, is that they give you a tremendous amount of room, right? Get yourself into a winning trade, get yourself up a few $100 and take the win. Like, that's the problem that I have with these, you know, ICT style, SMC style trading, you know, trading systems or methodologies, is that they force you to try to pick a top or try to pick a bottom with no order flow context whatsoever, and then they force you, they teach people to try to hold trades through profit targets that are just arbitrary profit targets, right? I can't tell you how many times I've seen ICT traders stock a trade, right? And let's say that they're targeting this low right here, right? Targeting this low from yesterday. And the gap, right? There's a gap. How many times have they seen this push down, right? And they miss out on the trade because it did not come all the way down. They didn't get their picture perfect, you know, liquidity sweep, which, by the way, by the time it actually sweeps a low like that, all the liquidity's already been taken, right? So that's why it's so important to watch the order flow. When the order flow starts to shift, you take the trade. Hey, we're up to 18 people. Appreciate you guys being here. If you guys can give it a like, I would appreciate it. So it looks to me like the tick is losing some steam. Okay. One of the things that I look at, sorry, microphone was away. I'm going to widen this out just a little bit so we can talk a little more about the tick. So one of the things that I look at is divergences between price and tick. So let's zoom in on price just a little bit. There's a few things that are going on. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that you need to short this, okay? But if we look at price, okay, we got a little high, a higher high, and we look at the tick, we've got our high, and then we have a lower high. And then look at what's happening with our order flow. Kind of bumping its head a little bit. And where's that happening at? Oops. Right here. An area where there was prior selling, right? So if the tick starts to make fresh lows, that kind of confirms it. Our order flow is still negative on the day. Listen to ICT. Man, I wish there wasn't such a delay in the chat. But I assume that's who you're talking about, Blizz. Oftentimes, guys, you'll get a pullback to neutral. This area up here. Oops, that's the tiniest little circle ever. yeah, I guess since we're kind of waiting for this thing to rally a little bit, look at this concentration of orders right here. Right, we're coming back up into that area a little bit. I'm watching tick here to see if it's diverging. So the overall Nasdaq itself is diverging, but it doesn't mean that it's time to short it yet. But also let's just look at, okay, so I'm going to back the I'm going to back off the profile. So I'm backing off the fixed range volume profile to just right here, and look what we're hitting. We're hitting a little high volume node. Okay. Now this little high volume node is important because it's recent, right? It's recent. Also, look what's happening here. You guys can see how I'm going to take just one scalp short, one micro. You can see how we had, I call it, you know, alignment, laminar alignment, like two layers between our price, between price and our order flow coming down. But then you see here, they started to delaminate, right? When something delaminates, what happens? Its layers start to separate. So there's a delamination that's happening in the order book as price comes down here. Well, look what's happening again. I'm going to zoom in here. Do you see how there's a slight delamination between these two? There's that little bit of separation. So again, this is the trades delta. So this is saying, hey, that there's a bunch of buying volume that's coming in. There's a bunch of selling volume, or selling trades that are, buying trades that are coming in. But you're starting to see a subtle shift, and some sells are starting to come in. And we know that because the two of them have twisted together, right? So they were in unison, or they were laminar, right? They were like a sheet of plywood smashed together directionally. There's some separation, but right here they really delaminated from each other. They separated in this area, right? Our trades delta was above our volume delta, but now the trades delta is starting to kind of twist a little bit lower, right? So it's just a subtle little thing. Again, I'm really more in demonstration mode than anything. I'm not saying that like line in the sand, short the market here. That's not, please don't take it like that. I've made $1,300 on the day. I'm just trying to demonstrate, trying to educate you guys. I guess not educate you because I don't know any more than you guys do. It's just different, right? Let me erase some of this stuff. Just different stuff. Like there's areas of your life that I know you're an expert in that I'm not. And I learn about the market every single day. So Nasdaq tick is, so one sec. Sorry guys, just a sec. Okay. So yeah, Charles is asking about the Nasdaq tick. So the Nasdaq has, you know, it kind of fluctuates 33 to 3,500 stocks in it. And so, amen. So what it's telling us is how many of those stocks in that moment are either ticking up or ticking down. So generally speaking, and I'll pull the tick out for you guys a little bit more, okay? So generally, excuse me, I'm so sorry. I just belched there a little bit. Sorry. Yeah, I assume you guys are all men, so. All right, so right out of the gate, the ticks, I like to let them settle, right? I like to let the tick settle. And so what the tick is telling us is that if it is trading below the 0 line, that means that there is a lot of selling on the equity side. You guys will hear me talk about futures, and you'll hear me talk about equities. I assume that you guys know the difference, but basically that if the tick is down in the zeros or below 0, there's a lot of selling in the smaller basket stocks that make up these larger companies, right? So there's a lot of selling in the tech sector when the tick is below 0. When the tick is above 0, like it is now, it means that there's a lot of buying, okay? And so this thing will kind of fluctuate. And the idea, the reason why I love it is because if I'm trading the NQ, which is following the top 100 tech stocks, then I am thinking of these as smaller rivers, right? It takes a lot of stocks. There's a lot of stocks that support these large companies like Apple, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, etc. And so all of these smaller tributaries pour into the larger river. That's how I look at it. Okay, so when we have a divergence like this, let's get back and look at price. I assume that price is dropping a little bit now. I don't have it up. Okay, so there we go. Right. Now, I'm going to close that just because I'm just scalping around with the micro. Now, this is what we see. I probably could have held it, but again, it's hard for me to hold a trade and talk with you guys at the same time. So let's take a look at this. Let's just kind of break this down a little bit, right? So I hope that you guys can see my cursor. Let me make it a little bit thicker. I want you guys to see my cursor better, so just 1 second. Let's see. Boy, it's been a long time since I've changed this, so just bear with me. I want to make sure that you guys can see the cursor. Chart values crosshair. Okay, I'll make it a little bit thicker. There we go. Now you can see it better. Okay. Maybe too much. So let's first look at the tick chart. All right. Well, let's start with the order flow. All right. I already kind of talked through this, but I'm watching for alignment between price, volume delta, and trades delta. We've got alignment. There starts to be some separation. These are the areas where I first noticed, or what I would call tangible separation between the two of them. Especially in areas like this, right? You can see how the separation gets bigger. Big separation here, here, a little bit here, and then what do we get right here? we get a flip, right? So they're together. Oops. They're together on the way down for the most part. They begin to delaminate from each other or separate. And then we kind of get this twisting effect. And so that's what you're seeing right now, is that there's a bunch of sell trades that are hitting. And that's why you're getting this kind of sell-off, right? Not a sell-off, but you know, it's dropping a little bit. And on top of that, we add in, trying to make this as obvious for you guys as possible. And I'll color it red. And I'll color this one red, and I'll make it thicker. And I assume that you guys, okay, so what do we have? We have a bearish delamination right here in our delta. We have price, which again is a shadow of the order flow, drifting higher just a little bit, and we have a bearish divergence in the Nasdaq. That's enough for me to just, again, put on one micro. The other thing is that we're negative on the day, right? Our order flow is negative on the day. We know that there's a gap down here, right? And we know that there's a previous quarter's VWAP. I look at this. This is just banks and hedge funds. I just look at this as them kind of front running the level. No, I'm sure that you're brilliant. We are all brilliant. We need to give ourselves more credit, not in an arrogant way, but you know, positive self-image and all that. I will go back and forth. That's a good question, Nee. I will go back and forth. I like to see the information as granular as I can get it, while still being able to you know, fit it all on my screen, so to speak. So I will often fluctuate between a 250 tick chart, a 512. It really just comes down to the finer the detail, the easier I can see the divergences between price and order flow. Does that answer your question? And you'll notice too that my tick chart is a 30-second tick chart, right? I want to see those divergences. So that wasn't a big trade, right? Wasn't a big trade. Made another 35 bucks on that. But at this point, like I said, I'm trying to just talk with you guys openly and honestly about what I'm seeing and how I look at stuff. Not currently in any positions. I would really like to see this thing just drop hard. So, okay, so the tick, let me just kind of poise this, or present. Let me present this question to you. What do you think is easier to turn? You're welcome, brother. What do you think is easier to turn? The NQ, right? Or the entire Nasdaq? What do you think is easier to turn from like an order flow standpoint? The Nasdaq, right? So if we have a bearish divergence in the Nasdaq, I believe that it is much more likely to continue to go lower than the NQ. It's just kind of how I look at it. There's, you know, trillions of dollars over on this side, right? Over here in the Nasdaq. right? Trillions. And I'd say there's billions that are transacting here in the NQ. So when we start seeing this thing, you know, we start to see this little bearish divergence form, that means that it's more likely, right? If you think about that freight train hurtling down the tracks, well, it was going up, right? It was going up. And now it's kind of going down. And if you'll notice too, like, as I kind of move my crosshair right here, in this space right here, the NQ is still oriented downward, but the Nasdaq, it's kind of like a hidden divergence kind of thing, but it's there. Stretch this out a little bit. I guess it really should be like that, but then it kind of changes. Anyway, you see how the NQ, so I'm looking at this area right now, the NQ is sloping downward, but the Nasdaq is starting to put in higher highs. Right, I'm looking at these highs. So I'm always looking at, are the highs aligned? Are the lows aligned? Are the highs aligned? Are the lows aligned? Are the highs aligned? Are the lows aligned? Right? Because I want to be in sync with the overall market. Right? If I'm trying to catch a long, I want to be in sync with the overall market. Because I know at some point, if the entire Nasdaq is swinging up, that the NQs will follow it. Same thing on a short. Right? If I start to see the Nasdaq diverge from price and I'm trying to get short, I want to see that divergence. Right? And then I want to try to carry that momentum, the overall market. Yeah, exactly. Well, when you understand the market, I mean, there's three parts to it, right? There's the price, right? There's price, but I've already explained to you that that it's the overall market. It's a combination of the market internals and the order flow that drive this part of your chart, right? All of this comes from these two things. And the thing is that truthfully, the overall market and the order flow shifts long before prices, right? People talk about price as now, notice that this did not make a new low here. So one of the things that you can do is just, if you're looking at the tick, is just simply draw, like, if this thing is actually going to go down, this little, I'll thicken this up again so you guys can see it, right? This little bearish divergence, if price is actually going to go down with it, this bearish divergence needs to hold. If we start making new highs, right? You see where it's at right now, it's at like 578. If this starts to extend up, then you know that you need to get out. right? Because the overall market's making a new high. I guess I need to make these lines a little bit thicker by default. Again, I can't tell. I rewatch some of my videos, the streams, but I'm not sure how well they actually show up when you guys are watching them in real time. So we should see this divergence hold. Okay, so yeah, if you were trying to short it, I guess whatever whatever price point lines up with the divergence, which in this case, yeah, it's this one. That would be your stop. Yep. So that's how I do it. Wherever my divergence is at. And for me, I always need to, you always have to have at least 2 points with the divergence. The only thing that I would say is that, again, we're still, remember what I said, is that right now, the tick is still spending the majority of its time in the positive. Yes, there's a divergence, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to I would feel a lot better about shorting it if my delta was, my trades delta, my volume delta were kind of back up here. We're kind of in no man's land. There is this little, like I said, cluster of aggression. Again, energy was stored right here. Order flow energy was stored, and then it was released in this direction. So we're assuming that somewhere in this area, the people who shorted it are going to defend it, but they may not. They may not. The good news too about trades, and you guys should take a sip of water here. Talk about this real quick. Yes, the bottom chart's volume delta and trades delta. Okay, so if you try a trade and you get stopped out, that's a good thing. Especially if, you know, let's say you're trying to get long, price has been dropping like crazy, and you've got some real conviction in it, right? And you try to get long here, well, guess what? Like, you're only going to get a better buying opportunity lower down. And you should have even more conviction about your trade when it comes down to here. So, you know, maybe you went in with, maybe you went in with 1 micro right here, right? Maybe right here you go in with 2 or 3, right? It's easy to make up for that loss, not a big deal. All right, so let's see what's going to happen here. We had a divergence. Let's see if it's going to hold. Profile back up. That's where we're at. Profile's starting to get a little messy, isn't it? I'm gonna change up the vibe here on the music. Go back to our tree favorites here. I know this tick's looking like it's wanting to push. Let's see what it does. You're fine, brother. I know what you're saying. I appreciate it. Let's try 1 micro short here. Let's see what happens. Let's see if we get a break lower. I like it that the trades delta is under our volume here. We need to see this line break. And we need to see our trades continue to sell off our tick. We might not get it. We'll see. Again, just kind of a... like it that it held right here on the Nasdaq. But we got to see a little bit of follow through on it. Hey B, appreciate it, man. Yeah, we got down close to that quarterly VWAP, and it hasn't been a strong rally out of there. I'll say that. Hasn't been a super strong rally, but. Might have been a little early on that. Again, if the tick starts making new highs, then I'll get out. Again, that P&L that you see on the chart is not accurate because I was trading full-size contracts earlier, then I switched over to micros when I went into kind of teaching mode. So I've included the trade positions and the account monitors so that you guys can see the live P&L. But I'm not going to reconfigure my charts just to make this position size correct. But we're still up $1,350 on the day, so I'm happy with that. Might not actually sell off until we get back up here toward delta neutral and maybe hit this point of control. And TPO wise, you guys can see where we're at. We never really got out of the overnight sessions value area. And also too, this is important for you guys that are kind of new to TPO. Remember I talked to you earlier about that taper, right? This is a pretty nice clean taper right here. So that might actually be the bottom. And it looks like we're about to pop through this B period. So the periods are every half hour. So yeah, it might not actually be able to get out of this until we... Thanks, Blizz. Yeah, I'm very happy with 1,300 bucks. Strategic chart wise, we are tapping the previous month's VWAP right now. And here's our tactical chart. So I feel like the tick is really either going to sell off hard or it's just gonna base out here above zero and then really rip. Again, you don't really know exactly what it's going to do unless it gets to some extremes. This is really more of like a, I don't know, demonstration trade than anything. It's not, I've not really seen an A+ setup or anything today. Got a nice short out of the open. Made 700 something bucks on that one. That was nice. So we have a little divergence here between price and order flow. Sometimes they resolve themselves, sometimes they don't. Here. Here. Yep. Okay, so I'm going to add one. I added one based on this push lower here on the tick. Of course, now it's not really breaking the zero line yet. Now we need to see some order flow follow through. Right? We need to see this order flow start to break down over here. We got our push. Right? We've got an even bigger divergence now than we had between tick and price. But anything is possible. So you got to kind of size accordingly, right? Something of note too, and I should have I didn't execute that well. But if the tick breaks a low, like you've got this divergence forming and it breaks a low, you want to add on this kind of push up, right? And I added really added too early. Do you see how the tick's kind of pushing up? So you kind of want to let it push back up into here before you add onto that. Whoops, I don't know what I just did there, but I added on the break, and I should have added on the pullback. So, just a tip from my experience with trading the tick. We might still get another little push up here. It's okay. Again, we're not heavy at all. We're just kind of building into a position here, campaigning a little bit. The tick can do anything it wants to do, though, and I won't put it past it one bit. You guys see that little rally in tick? That's where you want to add at. So I added too early. Again, this is not, this position monitor is not the actual P&L on the trade. It's the little box that you're looking at. I will add one more. That would have been a great kind of initial entry. Well, it's not about, but like, yes and no. It's not about the money so much as value. Like I think as traders we question how much value we actually bring. You know, like I'm bringing some value by doing a stream and trading live and all that for sure. But at the same time, it's like I'm not getting paid. I don't have like an affiliate link or anything. YouTube's not paying me. My channel's not monetized. So the money that I have is from, like, you know, military retirement and whatever I make trading. But a heart surgeon is saving somebody's life, right? That's priceless. Absolutely priceless. Nato says SPX about to break higher if it converts. Trend line resistance here. Okay. So our divergence is still holding. posted yesterday on X talking about granular position sizing. Granular position sizing. That's kind of my approach to all of this, right? I just did 1 micro. And again, it was really, I've gotten myself into trouble on this because I just kind of did it on a whim as a talking point, and because there was a little bit of divergence, but now it's turning into like an actual trade. That's fine. It took me, let's see, I think it took us, I'd have to look back on my X posts. Probably took me a week and a half, 7 days, 8 days to pass it, or maybe 9 days. Yeah, I bet a heart surgeon, man, it's no joke, right? Dealing with somebody's life every day. So I think it took me 9 days to pass it. Or, yeah. I'm thinking 9 actual days, but I guess it was 1 full week plus 2 days, so 7 days of trading. On the 300K eval. Oh, no. No, I didn't pass the eval on 1 micro. I used, similar to what you're seeing here. I would, kind of start seeing a divergence in things, and I would start to build a position. So I would say that my positions were anywhere between 1 micro and 2 minis during that time. So we are hitting, I don't remember what this blue line, oh, it's the previous month's VWAP. Why didn't I label this? So this is previous month's VWAP that we're touching right now. I usually do my previous months in yellow. And this is kind of how our leg to leg looks here. You think it's going up? Well, it's currently going up, yeah. No question, it's currently going up. Most of you guys trade the ES, or do you guys trade the NQ, or? Oh, okay, cool. There's definitely some order flow correlations between the two of them. Hey, trade mindset. First time seeing you on here, man. I appreciate you being here. I can't see who, I see like right now it says that there's 15 people watching, but I can't see anybody's names or anything like that unless you guys, well, I guess unless you guys say something. Let me look here. I'm not like in YouTube studio. Anyway, I appreciate you being here, man. We want to see the tick make a new low here. Of course, my pleasure. Again, you guys notice that I'm not heavy position-wise on this at all. It's and again, this started off kind of as a teaching point for one of the questions, and it's turned into an actual trade here. So we're just going to see how it plays out. We definitely have a market divergence. So there is, the overall Nasdaq is poised to sell off. Whether or not it's actually going to do it is something entirely different. Order flow wise, we're negative on the day. So there's a lot of there was a lot of aggressive selling off the open, and I can only surmise that they are likely to return. If not, then it's okay. Then we're wrong and we take a loss, but we're still, you know, we were right directionally on our first, you know, really our first 3 trades. What's not shown right here is, because this is on micros now, is 2 shorts that we took, one off the open and then another one later on down here. Then we kind of took this long just to again, these are just micros, just demonstrating kind of my thought process and how I don't get wrapped around the axle about the entry so much as I do the order flow. That's really what I'm looking at, order flow and market internals. You guys can see the order flow diverging from price, right? Yeah, it's nice knowing that there's, again, a volume density, right? There's energy that's stored up here. you will have some days where there is so much passive limit order buying or selling that the order flow is, it's not that the order flow is wrong, it's just that it may kind of lead you astray. And that's why I like to have the tick kind of as a backup, right? We're definitely at a point where the tick, you know, you'd want to see it break lower, right? You want to see this thing down negative 500, 600, 700, 800, 1,000, 1,200. But I didn't get heavy on the position, and so I've got plenty of wiggle room, right? There's $7,500 worth of drawdown. Actually, there's more than that. I can take it, so because the account balance is at $10,135, I can take it all the way down to negative $7,500. So I have $17,000 worth of drawdown, and right now I'm down $88 on this trade. That's how I look at it. I mean, obviously I don't want to use up the entire allocation, because there's other rules and stuff in there. I've been getting payouts from Apex since 2024. There's all kinds of other little rules, like the 30% consistency rule, 50% maximum allowable excursion, all that stuff. So there's a lot of other little rules, and you'll break those rules, and then you'll have to wait another 2 weeks to get a payout. So I try not to break those rules. Remember, I talked with you guys a little bit earlier about the delamination of the order flow. So we had delamination in here, and price went up, and now we're getting delamination here. Price is starting to fail. This is a little too, don't necessarily want dance music. Yeah, exactly, right? I'm not stressing out about it, right? Just trying to position myself on the right side of things briefly so I can you know, get out with some profit. And that's the thing too, is that, like I said earlier, it's not about being right necessarily and guessing on what the market's going to do from one day to the other, or from, you know, it's just getting yourself into a profitable trade, right? Taking some profits. You'll have a lot of days like this in the NQ where we open, we sell off, and then we return right back to where we started. And basically it ends up being just a wash, you know. Sometimes, you know, I'll enter with the micro and really like nail it, and I'll have to ride the trade with one micro, and maybe you don't make a lot on that trade. Then other times, you know, takes a couple of little, like I said, granular entries to really get the timing of it right. Yes, I do. I will occasionally post my win rate. My win rate on most days is between like 65 and 85%. I don't, but I don't worry about it. What do I worry about? I worry about deposits in my bank account. Like I said, as a disabled vet, father of 4 kids, a wife that you know, I've been married to her for 17 years. Like, it's about paying bills, right? It's about paying bills. It's about setting aside, you know, money for my children, college, you know, giving them a down payment on a house in 10, 15 years when they're in their 20s, right? Like, or just giving them a rental property, right? Like, I grew up really poor, and nobody was able to do that for me, right? So it's not about a fancy lifestyle or any of that stuff, right? If you're watching a kid who's in his 20s and he's driving a rented Lamborghini and is, you know, I call them broccoli-haired kids. No offense, please, if anybody's got broccoli hair out there right now. But that's not me, right? I'm, you know, been through hell and back. Well, here's something too, like for you, Blizz. I realize that like poor is a mindset, and there is the reality, right, of being poor, but it's also like poor people have a mindset that people that are self-made, right, that are entrepreneurs and have really built something. An entrepreneur, yeah, exactly. This thing starts making new highs over here, I might have to exit. But I also have delta neutral. Guys, this is the most important line on the chart. This RTH delta neutral. When your deltas get back up to delta neutral, and the guys, like in this case, because it sold off, right? We took the short off the open. If these guys right here don't defend this, then it flips, like I call it a delta flip, right? And it does this kind of thing. Like, then it's really gonna go the other direction. This is what I'm looking at right here. These two things. Nasdaq is still, at least there's a lot of selling. I mean, I say that, it's not a lot of selling. There's actually been a lot of buying, but it's definitely sold some. So. And the order flow. So basically we have the order flow and the tick are diverging from price. So let's see who wins here. What's up, John? This strange platform, that's an interesting question. I've not been asked that. This is Sierra chart. Appreciate you being here, man. This is the first time that I've seen you. Again, I wish that I could see everybody's names who's watching, but I don't have the screen space for it. It's just Sierra chart, which I think is the best trading platform that's available, hands down. Not even close. I've tried them all, from NinjaTrader to ATAS, Quantower. Like, they all pale in comparison to Sierra chart. And the nice thing about Sierra chart is that they're not doing any flaky marketing gimmicks the way that NinjaTrader is. Man, I've been so disappointed with them this last year. I used to tell people, hey, if you're just getting new to trading, you want like kind of a semi-professional trading platform, you could, you know, try NinjaTrader. But the the theatrics that they've been pulling lately, having ICT traders trading on TradingView, on the NinjaTrader live stream, it just cracks me up. What's up, ER? Yeah, it's a great question. I don't do limits. Um, I just mark it in, you know. And if you guys are trading evals or a small personal account, uh, just trade micros, right? I have four hotkeys. I have buy, I have sell, and then I've got, you know, close and cancel all, and then I have a break even that I will use if I do put a hard stop in for whatever reason. All right, looks like we're breaking highs here. So, our divergence looks like it's possibly about to fail. Yeah, of course. I'm glad you're here, man. So the question is, you know, we've kind of been holding this trade. We've seen some downward momentum in the overall market, Nasdaq. Got a little pop there, taking a little more heat. We're down 200 on this trade. You know, how much do you hold it for? Everybody's different. In my personal account, let's just say hypothetically, right, that my personal account balance is 50K, which I think is a good, healthy starting balance for a personal account. I don't want to lose more than probably 2,500 bucks, you know, 5%. There might be some days that I'll go to 10%, but like currently I'm on, this is day 24 of a string of green days. My longest has been 34 straight green days. And today we're on day 24. My streaks will break because, like I said, I'm a dad. So, you know, let's say that I start, you know, let's say I take a trade at the open and I don't get the direction right on it and I take a $300 or $400 loss. Or maybe I take a $1,000 loss, it just depends. But, and then I gotta go do something, right? Like I gotta take my kids to something at 10 o'clock. And it's like, okay, well, now, you know, I've got to try to circle back later on in the day and either make that loss up. So that's usually how my strings break. I would say it's very, very rare that I just have a blowout, you know, crappy trading day and lose a bunch of money. Like that doesn't happen, thankfully, anymore. So I like it that our trades delta is diverging here. I mean, we're definitely losing steam. But I will tell you guys that this is kind of an unusual bottom formation here, right? This is not typically what this looks like, but hey, like I said, I don't trade price patterns or things like that. I don't mind holding this a little bit more, maybe until we get up to delta neutral, right? To see if these guys are actually going to defend it. I do know that there's a previous month's VWAP here, and there's also a point of control from the TPO here, which is this. Now the thing about the monthly VWAP is that we've passed through it a couple of times, so it's not as weighty um, as it would be normally if it was like a naked, untouched, um, you know, monthly or quarterly VWAP, previous month VWAP, sorry. Right, so this is where we're at. Still a gap down there, but might be just so much buying that it, passive buying that it doesn't quite reach back down. Looks like my YouTube is locked up somehow here. Okay. Just repositioning some windows here. Let's see. I want to chart. I'm going to duplicate this chart. Sorry about the beep. Yikes. Alerts. That's probably an alert for one of the studies that I was looking at. Just bear with me here while I close this out. That's a little bit annoying. All right. Yeah, I've been working on a bunch of different stuff on my end, so I've got a lot of little extra studies on here that I don't normally have. Let's see if I can get the music going again. Yeah. Really watching to see if the Nasdaq makes a new low. Over here. You guys can see how things, like, check it out. We may, whoops, made this strong push down, right? And now on this kind of pullback, right, it's kind of jumbled up. So there's a lot of like crossing vectors in the order book here. I'm gonna add 1, maybe 2. So that brings our theoretical average up to half of a full-size contract. And so that purple line is our current theoretical average on the position. So we're in 5 micros. Yeah, exactly. You're right. You know, every morning I check the news. I'm sure you guys do too, right? Like I go to Forex Factory and check the news calendar. And I'll kind of like, there's sometimes that I'll put like vertical lines on my chart for news events. The news widget that I use also can do that. But there's sometimes that like I'll plot out the news, right? So I can kind of plan my day. And then lo and behold, Trump will be speaking at 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock. I'm like, ugh. Now I've got to try to plan around his schedule, right? Plan around the president's schedule. Again, I like it that the Nasdaq is, so the overall tech side is kind of failing a little bit here. Futures is continuing to rally into it. But we've got this divergence that we've been kind of tracking since like 10:35, right? So we've had an hour and a half of divergence here between the Nasdaq and the NQ. Held through a little bit of heat. I think we topped out at about 250 bucks in heat. So I'm just gonna hold this a little more. I like this, that this made a new low, and now we are relatively low. We're relatively low on the tick chart. You know, 5,600. It's not a big sell-off by any means just yet, but it could easily drop down to 1,000. Well, again, it's all based on risk, right? When you're up $1,350 on the day, you notice that I very intentionally, really anything below 1,000 is technically like oversold. But I mean, like yesterday we had negative tick readings of like 1,400. So sustained downside tick means that they're selling pretty heavily, right? So yeah, same thing for the upside. So as far as holding through it, I really, again, I look at it as kind of campaigning around a position, right? Like this is technically, this is a, like from a, like a higher time frame perspective, this is a with the trend trade, right? It feels like it's counter trend because we had this, you know, this leg up, but it's very much a with the prevailing trend kind of trade, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's going to go all the way back down to the bottom or anything like that. You guys know I don't do that. But I'm just trying to get myself in alignment with the market and with order flow. That's it. That's it. Get myself in alignment with the flow conditions. And really, again, $250 is not that much heat, guys. So once these kind of go into profit, then I'll start. So right now I've got 1 micro short here, 1 micro short here, 1 micro short here, and 2 micros short right here. So right now 3 of them are now in the money and 2 are still out. So now that we've kind of got this little push down, right? I might, again, there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but you can start closing them out, peeling them off. Right, so I might take 1 off right there. And again, for me, it's just about moving my theoretical average to where I'm in a good spot, right? Again, really just demonstrating things for you right now. I'm happy with my P&L on the day. Not trying to like really size into a big winner here or anything like that. Because we're in the lunch hour, we're really just we're just having a chat. We're just having a chat. I'm not like, you know, thinking I'm educating you or anything like that. Just sharing with you how I trade. Yeah, I wish I could have held that first short longer. But man, that coffee was having a reaction. My wife and I have started doing that with our kids. Let's face it, like it's with 4 kids and with a 15-year-old daughter and a 13-year-old, you know, 13-year-old boy. Like my kids can eat. And so for us to go out, you know, like we usually, you know, we'll go get Mexican after lunch or after church. That's kind of like our one standing meal per week. And then, you know, we would go out maybe one other time. But to take the kids out and eat for a family of 6, I mean, it's at least $70. And so we've started, rather than going out and kind of doing that midweek meal, we've started just taking them out one-on-one and spending more time with them. You know, so this morning I took my 11-year-old girl out to breakfast, just daddy-daughter time, and take her out and, you know, just spend time with her and love on her, fill her love tank up with some one-on-one time, and it's cheaper, right? That way we're not, because again, I'm very grateful for the resources that God gives me, and He provides all things for me, for us, and so I want to be a good steward of the resources that He gives me. Nee asks me, how do you have time to backtest and study trading? I get up really early. Initially, I think everybody goes through this stage. Okay, so again, I'm about to condense like, you know, 6 years worth of trading into what I'm about to tell you here. You have to, like with anything in life, you have to let yourself become obsessed with it. You have to let yourself become obsessed with becoming great at whatever it is that you're trying to do. Whether you're trying to, you know, play baseball, you're trying to be a, you know, a pool player, a poker player, you're picking up bowling, you want to be a Green Beret, Delta Force guy, like whatever it is that you want to do, whatever it is that you've set your sights on, right? Whatever the vision is that you have for your life, you have to allow yourself to fall in love with that reality and become obsessed with it, like with achieving greatness in that particular area, like we were talking about. Just a second. So yeah, so Blizz was talking about his brother-in-law, right? He's a cardio surgeon. He had to allow himself to become obsessed with becoming a surgeon in order for that to work out, right? Sorry, one sec, guys. My wife was asking me a question. You know, he had to allow himself to become obsessed with the idea of being a surgeon, right? And visualize himself achieving success in that field. And you've got to have that obsession with whatever it is that you're doing. And when you have that obsession, right, when you allow yourself to fall in love with that version of you, then getting up early in the morning or staying up late at night to study trading, that's all that you want to do. Like I had to force myself for, you know, I had after about like probably 4 years of really deep diving into trading and all the different methodologies that are out there, right? I had to really force myself to uncouple from it, to take time away from the charts. And but there was a lot of late nights. There was a lot of, like, you know, up late 1, 2 in the morning, and then go to sleep and wake back up at like 7 o'clock and show back up at the charts at, you know, 9 o'clock, 9:30 for the open. Especially once I switched to futures. Like I trade penny stocks. I traded penny stocks initially, and I started off in, like, you know, a paid penny stock group, which was absurd. Looking back on it, right, they just traded a bunch of different indicators on a chart. They had no concept of order flow or really even price action for that matter. And so I spent a lot of time in that group and lost a lot of money. But they were like, you know, looking back, I see now that they're like amateurs, right? So that's where I started at. And then when I switched to futures, it was like, oh crap, like I've got to really learn what I'm doing here. So it just takes time. You've got to allow yourself to become obsessed with it. That obsession is going to carry you over into, you know, into trading profitably. And then you'll get to a point to where it's like, okay, you know, I'm starting to grasp this, I'm starting to understand this. And then the question is you've got to then work on the mental side of it. You have to, again, kind of go back to believing. You've got to, you know, build this self-image of you as a trader. That self-image of you as a profitable trader has to come long before you will ever actually be profitable. Everybody wants to be profitable through some kind of, you know, entry model. It's not the entry model that makes you profitable, guys. Like, you are the edge. Your belief, there's your belief in yourself, your self-image, and like, and your discipline. That is the edge in the market. Now, there's also like statistical edge, which I think that is extremely important. You guys should know, like, hey, if you're trading, like I know a lot of popular, what's popular out there. Obviously, there's ICT stuff. There's, 30-second opening range breakout orb strategy. There's the 15-minute orb, which has been, again, popularized on YouTube. Like, whatever your strategy is, you've got to back test it and then develop some stats on it. So that way you know, hey, when this thing happens, this thing happens. Like, statistically, it's more likely to happen. And that gives you the confidence to hold your trades, right, with conviction. I'm sure that he is. Awesome. Thanks, babe. You're beautiful, and I love you. Thank you. Hey, we're up to 20 people watching. That's pretty amazing, huh? Pretty neat. I'm gonna start telling war stories next. Yeah, it's probably mindset. What strategy are you trading? Like, are you trading? I mean, obviously you're watching this stream, so I think you're maybe trying to pick up on this, but like, what's your background? Is it ICT? Is it just price action? Candlesticks? Like, don't you guys feel a lot better knowing that there's a POC here in a previous month's VWAP going short? Now it may not hold. It may not hold. Might have to get out. Okay. Fascinated by war stories? Man, I've got some good ones. Well, I hope for your sake, brother, that you don't ever have to go. I appreciate it that you're continuing to serve. That means the world to me. I'm at the stage of life where, like, I spent 18 years as a Green Beret. Well, 21 years in total, right? 18 years as a Green Beret, and I spent almost 4 years in Delta Force. And I had a great career. Every bit of it was just by accident, not because of some great foresight on my part or anything that I had I never had like a mentor to guide me or anything like that. And there certainly wasn't all this social media stuff now. So I'm kind of like a old school, quiet professional, special ops kind of guy, right? I'm not like an in-your-face Mr. Operator, okay? Yeah. Hold on, I gotta let my dog out. I'll be right back. Thanks, babe. I'm gonna turn off. Okay, so something to think about here is that I kind of see. So this is volume delta. The white. I'm kind of reading this like trapped traders, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. But they could be right, and I could be the one that's wrong. It's been known to happen. But you can see how our trades delta is continuing to kind of slope off here. I normally don't trade with the volume delta. I usually I prefer to trade with the move this up. This chart book is a mess. I've got like personal chart book and then this streaming chart book. Blizz. Alright, so Blizz, if you're going to be on my stream, you're not allowed to say that about yourself. Okay? You're not. Nobody on here is a dumbass. Right? No, nobody on here is a dumbass, brother. So I want you to work on, for me, please. Again, it starts with that self-image. Every comment that you make, even on social media, every word that you say, every word that you speak about yourself, right? Has a carryover effect, right? I'm not trying to get into like woo-woo energy stuff, but let's just again be real here. Like you've got to build belief in yourself. Hey Vega, appreciate you being here. Again, I got to figure out a way to see everybody's names here. So our Nasdaq is starting to rally, and I don't like that. So you're saying that what I'm saying doesn't work like that? What do you mean? If it pops through here, then we'll just get out. Is it? Okay. So I want you to elaborate. I wish that I wish that I could just put you on voice chat because I'd like to. Like I want you to elaborate a little bit. Okay, so humility. ER, I appreciate that, man. Hey, if we get a little break on this, erase this, erase this. If we get a little break on this order flow right here. I'm watching that closely. Trading has been, okay, so let's see. I told you guys briefly a little bit about my career. I will tell you that trading has been the most difficult thing that I've tried to do. Now, again, remember, like, when I was trying out for Special Forces, I went to SFAS in 1997, so I'm going to date myself. I'm probably older than most of you on stream. I went to selection in 1997, and I graduated the Q course, or the Special Forces qualification course, in 1999, like March 1999. And then I spent 6 months in language school, right? So that was difficult, but I was young, right? I was young, had tons of energy. Nice. I'm 48, so I got you by a little bit still. I know that I've got some friends in here that are like in their 60s, but like I was young, but I didn't know any better, so it was just full speed ahead. But as you get older, right, you kind of get set in your ways a little bit, and trading was difficult because as an operator, like, failure is not an option, right? Like, I'm literally putting my life on the line at every single mission, and I will do that time and time and time again. One of the guys in here is a firefighter, and I know that he can relate to it. You know, like, it's just no question. That's how I roll with my teammates. and losing teammates in combat. So I think last time I counted, I was at like 35 men that I knew that were either teammates with me or that I had gone through training with that have been killed, right, in GWAT and in other areas of the world. So, like, that's emotionally very difficult, but it's different. It's a different kind of emotional roller coaster or battlefield than trading, right? So trading has been the most difficult thing for me to do on like a personal level. I appreciate that, man. A lot of really good people, right? They're good people, guys. They're just like us, right? I mean, there's good people and there's bad people in this world, and sometimes those lines can be blurred. I get that. I'm not saying that America is perfect or that our government's perfect or that our military is perfect. It's not. But there's good people and bad people, right? And there's guys just like me all over the world. I met some great special ops guys in Europe. I love my European brothers. And but trading can just be really tough, and it's tough because every day you are facing failure, right? Every day you're facing failure. Like, look at this right here. There's one failure. There's another failure. There's another failure. And at one point, these two felt like failures. And I really want to break it down, right? Like, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures. Now, these two are starting to look better, right? But bing, 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 bing. How many, like, if you were to go outside, hop in your car, drive to Walmart or Target or wherever you shop at, go to your work, where else in your life would you experience 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 failures? By the way, I'm going to take profit. Okay, take profit. Yeah. Yep. So this is what makes it so tough, right? It's this. It's facing this day in and day out and not getting paid for it. That sucks. And it takes some, you guys know, like I'm a Christian, I'm a follower of Christ. I'll just tell you, it takes some balls to show up every single day and face failure. That's guts. I'm hoping that we do, Nee. My kids are dying for some snow. This thing may end up blowing out of here. I honestly, so just being transparent here, this kind of caught me off guard because this is not a real pretty bottom from a price standpoint. And I mean, I guess I see the order flow divergence now. And whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Bring that back up. I wish there was a Control Z function in Sierra chart, but there's not. So again, this profile is just, I had it kind of just set on the leg down because since we're trying to catch this downtrend here. But let me see what the whole day looks like here. Okay, so our POC, our point of control has shifted up. Right, so if it falls from here, then I think it will absolutely take out this bottom. Because again, think about an energy. I'm gonna go on a little riff right here. Right, from an energy standpoint, right? It's building up a bunch of energy here, a bunch of volume. It's gonna release that energy, and it's either gonna go up and out, right? Or it's gonna go down. And if it goes down, it's gotta go someplace lower, right? Some other lower density in the market or energy build up in the market. So it's accumulated energy right now, and we don't know which direction it's going to go in. Yes, they do, for sure. So I'm holding 1 micro. Again, had a good day yesterday. We ended up with like 4,200 bucks, which was just a topsy-turvy kind of a roller coaster day. You got to be careful on days when Trump speaks, man, because the order flow, because these, you know, the big players in the market are adjusting their positions at a rapid rate, and so the order flow can be a little hard to read. Yeah, I kind of like this. Kind of like this music here. It's like a cross between country and some beats. Anyway, I just thought that bottom looked funky. I wouldn't be surprised if it wipes it out. Again, the order flow is... Sometimes I'll play around and do stuff like this, right? I'm gonna give this a few more minutes here and then I gotta go check in with the Sergeant Major, my wife. Let's see if we get a break. You guys can see that divergence in the order flow, right? Like if I were to draw a curved line, like price did this, and the order flow just did that. You could see aggressive selling. We have 20 people watching. Man, it's incredible. 2 days ago, I was really thinking I'm not going to stream anymore, and you guys are kind of inspiring me to keep doing it. I don't know. Again, please understand that, I mean, I'm showing you guys how I trade, but at the same time, there's a lot of like statistical stuff that I'm not going to be able to release publicly. I don't mind showing you guys this stuff like this. But as far as like stats and chart books and things like that, I'm just not. I can't give it all away for free. You're welcome. Also, too, this time of day, like it gets a little murky, right? The order flow kind of gets a little murky sometimes. So, I mean, really, when you think about it, like we caught a short at the open, then we caught a long, right? Like the short's not on here because let's see, let's do this. I'm gonna just. Well, the short's not on here because I've got it set to MNQ. So I think we are probably going to break out of this, guys. Look at our tick. Got the short, caught another little short, caught a long, caught a short, and now we've kind of built into this. Yeah, I feel like this is probably good. I don't want to get too upside down and have to start rebuilding. So I'm just gonna I'll close this. All right, take the L on that. So that's our daily P&L, $1,316. And that's probably a good stopping point for me. I'll chat with you guys for a minute if you guys want to just chat. But so we didn't get the big drop in the tick that we thought we were going to, and now it's kind of building again. There would be nothing wrong with longing from here. I just don't really want to. Like I said, it's lunchtime, family and kids are doing their schoolwork next door. But if you guys were to long, then for sure, you know, your stop could go here. But I like this momentum, but it's not, you know, just wait. Just there's no rush, right? There's a lot of different ways to make money in this market, guys. Trade with Ice. Hi, Spec. I'm a fan of yours. Awesome, man. I salute you too, brother. Appreciate you being here. Did you find me on X? I'm trying to kind of transition everything over to YouTube just because YouTube's a little more positive, I think. Let me turn down the volume on this. Again, I'm not taking this trade here, guys, because it's lunchtime for me. Daddy's got to eat. If we get a break in this little downtrend line here on the order flow, like if this area breaks, right, then we pretty much know that we're going back up to delta neutral. Nice. Hey, that means a lot, man. I appreciate you kind of bridging the gap over here to YouTube. Charles, I will try to, man. I will try to. That's what I love about the NQ. I mean, look at that. Like, we're gonna open here. We're gonna sell off. And then we're just gonna rebound right back. I only use CR chart. Yes, I only use CR chart. That's right. Comment. You guys ask questions. You guys know how algorithms work. Like, it's the chat's good, right? From what I understand, chat's good, but YouTube wants views, watch hours, actual comments on the video, and then it's measuring how quickly the YouTuber puts, you know, how quickly they respond. So yeah, if you guys, I mean, there's like 16 people watching. If everybody asked a question or left a comment, then I could come along behind and like them and could have a good little thing. I don't know that I'll be monetized anytime soon. I don't even know how many subscribers you have to have. Let me look here. Okay, so you've got to have, so long form, let's see, hold on. Long form video path, most common for traditional channels. I would say that my channel is a traditional channel. You have to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 valid public watch hours in the last 2 months. Well, if you already understand, so let's pull up TPO. If you already understand, okay, so if you already understand profile in general, then the transition is not going to be difficult, right? Like, you know what a high volume node is, you know what a low volume node is, you know what a point of control is, you know what value area is, right? So all of that translates over into the TPO. The thing that I like the TPO for is one, like, hold on. It's just a cool looking chart, right? Like, can we just not appreciate that it's a cool looking chart? It's beautiful. It's a cool looking chart. And I have my news up here, right? But it's a nice looking chart. And so for me, like, I have it combined. I don't know if you guys can, I'll zoom in so you guys can see it. But. Basically, I've got the TPO chart, and then I've got the volume profile, which is just kind of in the background, and then I've got the delta profile over that as well. So it's all just to, again, for me to see where value is at, right? Where prior value is at. But what's cool is that, you know, the TPO, you can break it out like that, and then you see, like, they're basically 30-minute candles, right? And who doesn't like looking at a 30-minute chart? So this is your 30-minute, it's basically like a 30-minute price bar, right? Came down, and this purple line right here is yesterday's point of control. It did not get down to yesterday's point of control. That tells you something. That tells you something right there. That's a clue, right? And then it rallied in the overnight. And then this has been kind of a big pullback, you know, so this, you know, we sold down, and we just tested the boundary of yesterday's value area, and when I collapse the profile again, you can see that we tested it, the bottom edge of that. And so I like a TPO for context, right? And so what I've done is that I've taken my TPO chart, and then I've put some other things on there, right? Like, I don't know if you guys can see it, but basically I've got previous days VWAP, previous quarters VWAP, and then the monthly VWAP. And I have those on there, right? And then I also have this strategic chart, which is just a traditional, you know, bar chart. But I like the bars because they just give me an element of detail. And then if I want something specific, like so for example this, let's take a look at this leg. I'll answer your guys' question here. But let's take a look at this. Let's say that let's look at it like this. Let me turn this off. Okay, so look at the far right side of my chart. And I'll try to zoom in a little bit. So prices come down, we put in this low. Now price is coming up. These gray lines right here, let me, I'll get to your guys' questions, just let me, I've got this train of thought and I've got to run with it. So I'm going to turn these on, I'm going to make them into blue so you guys can see them. Whoops, not today's VWAP. So previous day's VWAP. Okay, so they're in blue. Make them a little bit thicker so you guys can see them. Okay, so price comes down. We put in a low. You can see how these previous days VWAPs, they stair step down. Right, so this is where a daily, like a rolling RTH or session VWAP closes. So we put in the low, and now we're going back up. So whoops. So now price is legging back up. Okay, so where do you buy at? Right? If you're looking for a pullback from this leg, where do we buy at? Well, you pull a fixed range volume profile from this low. Don't get this leg in. We're not looking at this leg. We want to try to join this trend. So I'm drawing my fixed range volume profile from here. This is why I love the FVRP so much, is because I can look and get the exact information I want. So if I want to join this trend, then I need to start from down here. And here's a little tip for you guys. If you're drawing your FVRP, again, fixed range volume profile, if you're drawing the FVRP and you're dragging it up, you're looking for longs. Okay, again, this direction. But if I was over here, hold on, let me delete that. If I was over here, right, and I was drawing my FVRP this way, then I'm looking for areas to short. Does that make sense? So let's continue this, because once I get a thought in my head, I gotta stick with it. So we're going from our low up, up, up to right there. Now, I know it's gonna be a little funky, but now as price comes back down through this, right, you start looking for areas like right here. I like to buy high volume node edges or volume ledges or low volume nodes. I like to buy these sharp edges in volume. So again, this is an hourly chart, so that would have been an area that you could have bought. Now if it passes through that, right, then you might, so what do we get right here? We get a little bounce, and where does it happen at? Right at this little point of control. And then it drops through it again. It's okay, no problem. Where does it bounce again? Right here. Where does it bounce again? Kind of in the middle of this. So, like, I guess I've kind of developed into a reversion trader, but those are bounce areas based on the volume profile for this leg right here. So, back to your question. If you already understand the profiling piece of it, you know, you learning TPO is not going to be that much of a difference, right? Like, I like to look at a TPO chart. I like to use it. I use it every day. And then the VWAPs are just kind of a nice confluence. Hey, you're welcome. The long-term VWAPs or long-range VWAPs, I just use them, again, just as a little more confluence, but the basic, okay, so I used to really look at these horizontal levels, right, which are, you know, some of them are arbitrary, some of them are not arbitrary, you know, just meaning that I'm drawing them myself, but I've transitioned from seeing a volume point of control and thinking I need to be getting long right here, or seeing a previous day's VWAP and thinking I need to be getting long right here. Two, I've transitioned away from that to I know statistically when our order flow is overbought or oversold, right? So I always start with the statistics, and then from that I will look for a divergence. So the first thing that I am thinking is, where are we statistically in the order book, right? How far have we sold off? How far have we bought from an order book standpoint? I'm looking at that first, and then I look for divergence second, and then third, any other little confluence that's on there that's available. That could be previous day's VWAP, could be a quarterly VWAP, could be a point of control, could be something on a TPO chart. Again, if I draw a leg from here to here, right? I'm looking for pullbacks to these kinds of areas. But I'm always asking myself, where are we in the order book statistically first? Is there a divergence of some type that I can exploit? And then from that, I start to use GPS, right, or granular position sizing to start building in my positions. I hope that didn't sound like a rant. I wasn't trying to be ranty. I'm going to clean up these charts a little bit. I'll turn off the orders too. I love the orders, but at the same time, like, they get a little messy. I'm going to take a look at the news, see what's on tomorrow, and then I'm going to hop off and eat lunch. I probably will not be back this afternoon. Oftentimes I have found that the juice is just not worth the squeeze, guys. Take a look here and see what we got. Sorry, I'm resizing the window in OBS. Okay. So here is today. We did GDP or PCE, kind of mixed. Tomorrow we have flash PMI at 9:45. So I guarantee that the market will be moving and shaking tomorrow. That's good. When we have an event like this that is basically co-located time-wise with the open, I will not trade that. Right? At 9, I'll either try to make my money in the pre-market, like between 5, 6, 7, but I'm not going to be hanging out in a trade at 8:30, 8:45, 9 o'clock, or trying to trade the open right off that, unless it's just a super, super clean setup, meaning a lot of like laminar alignment between the order flow and stuff. So, yeah, I'll come back on tomorrow, stream. I've enjoyed today. I appreciate you guys a lot. It's been a good day. We're up $1,300 and we're almost to, so we're past the payout target, which is $7,600, but I wanted to apply for the maximum payout of $3,500 on this particular account, and that's where we're at on it. Although I think, well, I don't think, I know that I have probably violated, whoops, probably violated profit rule. So they might deny this first payout. That's okay. Yeah, it's been a good day. Thanks, Blizz. I appreciate that, man. I will. I've seen, I remember when they first came out. I'm kind of at the point where, again, I'm trading a personal account and trading with Apex. I've always been with Apex. They were the first ones that I tried, and I've had good luck with them. And they've enabled me to trade in a way that I was not able to before, right? Helped me get some capital. You got to have some capital to trade a personal account. But yeah, I appreciate you guys being here, man. We topped out at 30 watchers. I couldn't believe it. So again, I appreciate all of you guys very much. And yeah, I'll be back on tomorrow. All right. God bless you guys. Y'all stay safe. And please leave comment, actual comment. That would be helpful. And if you guys have questions, that's a good way. You know, I get a little alert. And you guys can always find me on X as well. I am on there. But I'm trying to kind of pull back a little bit from X. So just a lot of negative stuff. All right. You guys take care. God bless y'all.